interesting times. Today's stories. UN officers will monitor human rights situation in Venezuela. Deadly Cambodia building collapse. Trump toots trade deal during a meeting with Trudeau. Trudeau gifts Pelosi with Raptors swag after the NBA Finals bet. Filipino-Canadians celebrate the 121st anniversary of Philippine independence with a gala night. Iglesia Ni Cristo spearheads a blood donation drive. For EBC Sports, NHL Draft showcases the league's next stars. And 2019 Collision takes over Toronto. This is Eagle News broadcasting from our Vancouver studio in Canada, bringing you stories from around the globe. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yi. The United Nations will monitor human rights in Venezuela. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Michelle Bachelet says this is being done with the blessing of the Venezuelan government.
Hemos alcanzado un acuerdo con el gobierno para que un pequeño equipo de 2 oficiales de derechos humanos permanezca aquí con el mandato de proveer asesoría, asistencia y asesoría técnica, pero también muy importante, continuar monitoreando la situación de derechos humanos en Venezuela.
Bachelet says the UN will do what it can to ensure all segments of Venezuelan society are included.
Pero en eso Naciones Unidas está trabajando fuertemente para apoyar en las áreas más relevantes en un plan que se está haciendo con el gobierno, pero también con representantes de la sociedad civil.
Tragedy at a construction site in Cambodia. A building under construction at a beach resort has collapsed, leaving at least 3 people dead. Officials fear dozens more may be buried in the rubble. Workers were inside the 7-story structure when it fell down early Saturday in the beach town of Sihanoukville in the Praia Sihanouk province. Photos showed excavators digging into the flattened debris in the hunt for survivors feared to be trapped inside. Governor Yun Min says all of the dead were Cambodian, including 2 workers and a translator. Min adds the building belonged to a Chinese national who rented the land from a Cambodian owner. Sihanoukville was once a sleepy fishing community before being claimed first by Western backpackers and then wealthy Russians. Chinese investment has flooded in recent years, spurring a construction boom in a resort town known for its casinos, which pull in mainland tourists. There are about 50 Chinese-owned casinos and dozens of hotel complexes under construction. According to official statistics, more than $1 billion was invested by Chinese government and private businesses in the province between 2016 and 2018. Cambodia, one of Southeast Asia's poorest countries, has notoriously lacked safety laws and labor protections. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and U.S. President Donald Trump talked trade and other issues during a meeting last week at the White House. Following the meeting, Trump told reporters that the trade deal is good for everyone involved.
Mexico is thrilled. You saw the vote. It was a very lopsided in a positive way vote, a great vote. And I think it's going to be something very special. Again, it's the largest trade deal by far ever entered into, and we're very close to having it finalized. It means a lot of jobs for our country, a lot of wealth for all 3 countries.
The deal between the United States, Mexico, and Canada replaces the 1994 NAFTA agreement. On another issue, Trump hinted U.S. Federal Reserve Chief Jerome Powell may be ready to cut American interest rates.
Well, I guess they indicated they're going to be lower. He should have done it sooner, but what are you going to do? Can't win them all. He should have done it sooner, but you can't win it all. And eventually he'll do what's right, perhaps. Let's see what he does.
Trump also promised to help Canada in its disputes with China, including the detention of 2 Canadians by Chinese authorities.
I will tell you, we have a meeting set up with President Xi, and it's obviously on the big transaction that we're talking about and negotiating. Our people are actually speaking now. We'll see what happens with that. But anything I can do to help Canada, I will be doing.
The NBA came up during the meeting, and Trump offered his congratulations to the NBA champion Toronto Raptors, but stopped short of inviting the team to the White House.
Well, we thought about that. That's an interesting question. They played phenomenal basketball. I watched a little bit of it. They were really terrific. Congratulations, by the way. That was a great job by a great team. So we'll think about that. If they'd like to do it, we'll think about that.
The president did say he'll be putting out the welcome mat for former race car driver Roger Penske.
Spoke to him. We're going to be presenting the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Roger Penske. Roger Penske is a great gentleman who has won 18 Indianapolis 500s. He's just won Daytona. He won Daytona, he won Indianapolis, he won probably more than anybody in the history of racing. I can't imagine anybody even being close. But Roger Penske is going to be getting the Medal of Freedom.
While in Washington, Prime Minister Trudeau met with U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. The two exchanged gifts after they bet on their respective teams to win the NBA Finals. Trudeau handed over a bag of Raptors swag, while Californian Pelosi gave Trudeau a basket of treats from her home state. Pelosi applauded the Raptors.
Congratulations, Mr. Prime Minister, to the Raptors. They're a great team. So great that they were able to win over a great championship team, the Golden State Warriors.
Trudeau responded in a typical Canadian way.
Canadians are gracious in defeat and even more gracious in victory. I put together a little bit of Raptors swag. I don't expect you to wear it, but the We the North and Toronto stuff.
Up next, Filipino Canadians celebrate the 121st anniversary of Philippine independence with a gala night. Iglesia Ni Cristo spearheads a blood donation drive. For ABC Sports, NHL Draft showcases the league's next stars. These stories and more when Eagle News Canada returns. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News Canada. Filipino Canadians celebrated the 121st anniversary of Philippine independence with a gala night. Here's Kathleen Cruz with the details.
In commemoration of the 121st anniversary of Philippine independence, Filipino-Canadian Societies of British Columbia are celebrating with a gala night, which aims to showcase Filipino talent, culture, and tradition.
Araw ng Kalayaan, or the Day of Freedom. June 12, 1898, one of the most significant dates in the Philippine history, as this day marks the sovereignty and independence of the Philippines from the Spanish colonization for over 300 years. While celebrations are being held in the Philippines nationwide, Filipinos here in Canada are also celebrating the nation's liberation, especially that June was declared by the Canadian government as the Filipino Heritage Month.
Celebrating Independence Day, even we are outside the Philippines, is already a part of our culture. We have to be a proud Filipino. And the fact that we were the first Asian country who fought against European colonization, and in that case, we are a freedom-loving people.
In the history of the Philippines, Independence Day really spelled out when we became a nation. It symbolizes the sacrifices of our forefathers for all the freedoms that we have now. And it's very important that we remember that and we honor that, because that's the source of our being a people.
Singer Shireen Regis also emphasizes how important it is to celebrate Philippine Independence Day.
Well, it is really important, especially to the new generation, because they need to know the history of the Philippines and how we got our independence. That's why in this time, people should remember everything what happened in the past and what should be done for us to remember everything and for us to develop and for the progress of our Philippines.
The gala night also highlights the richness and diversity of the Filipino culture through a fashion show of exceptional gowns and suits made by Filipino designers Jay Lacin and Christine Regalado. The event also showcases Filipino art with an exhibit by the Vancouver-based Filipino artist LUMAD, or League of United Minds for Arts and Development.
If you are a migrant, you need to embrace the multicultural society, and to embrace it, you need to share your identity culturally or spiritually, physically. Parang ano siya paano ka makasurvive sa isang dayuhang bansa na parang magkaroon ka ng sense of belonging or parang at home ka. So through art, parang doon namin mas ma-embrace yung identity.
In connection with Filipino Heritage Month in Canada, the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, the Church of Christ charity arm, received a humanitarian award for their work benefiting the marginalized groups across Canada through their organization's global campaign against poverty, Lingap sa Mamamayan, or Aid to Humanity, and their notable dedication in reaching out to impoverished communities.
On behalf of the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, the charitable arm of the Blessed Church of Christ, I am accepting this humanitarian award. This is such a humbling moment to have been acknowledged for the many ways we are reaching out to underserved communities, indigenous people, refugees, and people who are challenged by economic disruption. Our dear Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, whose drive and determination in leading the church, he inspired all the members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo all over the world to do good deeds as written in the Holy Scripture. Again, thank you, everyone. Our fellow kababayan, thank you so much for believing in mission and vision of the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. Thank you so much.
The Filipino community in Canada is now the third largest immigrant community in all of Canada. We bring so much to the country, the diverse country that is Canada. In fact, we are now 930,000 strong. But again, there's so much that we can do. There is so much that to strengthen our political and economic presence in Canada. So I'm very glad that we have events like this that's able to do that.
Reporting from Vancouver for the Canada-wide Filipino Heritage Month celebration, for Eagle News, Kathleen Cruz, 1 with 25.
Also in British Columbia, the Iglesia Ni Cristo spearheads a blood donation drive. Here are the details.
Giving the gift of life. This is something happening here today in British Columbia, where members of the Church of Christ spearhead a blood donation drive.
The Iglesia Ni Cristo, or the Church of Christ, is donating blood in compliance to what the Bible teaches, that whenever possibly can, we should do good to all people. And blood is the most precious gift that anyone can give to another person, the gift of life. By donating your blood, you can actually save a life.
According to Canadian Blood Services, someone will always need blood, and in case of emergencies, national inventory of blood for all provinces and territories can only last up to 12 days, especially now that the inventory for blood type O is very low and the call for more donors is extremely high.
I'm sure each one of us has at least one person or even personally experienced the need for blood, be it whether through illness or through accidents or anything like that. So as much as we can, we should.
It saves lives. I found out one donation is giving life or equivalent to 3 lives. So for me, it's really a good thing to give.
I said happily doing this because every time that we do something that's good to our fellow men, it really gives us joy, knowing that we have obeyed the commandment of God.
Reporting from Canadian Blood Services here in Vancouver, I am Kathleen Cruz for Eagle News. I am 1 with 25.
Thank you, Kathleen. Now for ABC Sports correspondent Anthony Sevilla takes us to the NHL draft for the next superstars. Take a look.
Here at the 2019 NHL Draft at Rogers Arena in Vancouver, Canada, Jack Hughes from the U.S. Development Program went #1 overall to the New Jersey Devils, while Kaapo Kakko, the forward from Finland, went 2nd to the New York Rangers, potentially igniting a new rivalry in the Big Apple. The New Jersey Devils held the #1 pick in this year's NHL Draft, and as expected, they went with the dynamic playmaker Jack Hughes. Highly regarded as the best skater in this year's class, the American forward who played for the U.S. Under-18 National Development Program is the 4th National Team Development Program alum to go #1 in the draft.
Yeah, it's it's a surreal feeling. It's unbelievable, everything you work for. I'm really just blessed to be around the people I am. I'm really thankful for the people that have gotten me where I am today. I think there's a lot of great players in the Devils, and it's a team that's right there, like I said. So I'm blessed to be a part of the organization. I'm really excited. I'm pretty confident, but obviously Kaapo Kakko had a great year, so there's a lot of good players in this draft. But I was pretty confident and pretty calm, cool, collected throughout the whole process.
The 2nd overall pick in this year's draft, the New York Rangers, selected the right winger Kaapo Kakko from the Finnish Elite League. The Rangers will be getting a playmaking forward, able to play both on the wing and at center. He scored 22 goals in 45 games in Finland's top pro league as an 18-year-old. Bowen Byram was a notable draftee. The high-scoring two-way defenseman from the city's junior team, Vancouver Giants, was selected 4th overall by the Colorado Avalanche. Byram led all defensemen in the Western Hockey League with 26 goals and was 3rd in points with 71. Bowen talks about what he needs to work on and thanks the fans in Vancouver for their continuous support in his hockey career.
I think I got to get bigger, stronger, faster. I got to shore up some details in my game, but the way I look at it, everyone's got to get better. Everyone's got to fix things. So, yeah, like I said, I got to work extremely hard and put myself in a good spot. I guess I want to thank them for supporting me here and throughout the year in the playoffs and the regular season. It was awesome. I'm really glad that we kind of went on a run for them like we did.
The host city for this year's NHL Draft was the Vancouver Canucks, who took Russian right winger Vasily Potslovan. Despite having a limited role with his club in Russia, he talked about his KHL experience and how playing against grown men and how he plans to improve.
Again, he hopes that these 2 years that he's going to play in Russia, he will get stronger and will be more a man. Vasily says that it was really good to have this experience to play against men, because they're stronger than this age group, so in this match it was really helpful.
The dream of being drafted and hearing their names called marks the beginning of these young players' careers. The journey starts here with the draft, as 31 franchises are hopeful they found the right pieces to win the ultimate goal of the Stanley Cup. From Rogers Arena in Vancouver, Canada, I'm Anthony Sevilla, 1 with 25.
Thanks, Anthony. Coming up, 2019 Collision takes over Toronto. Eagle News Canada will return shortly. This is Eagle News. I'm Archie Rose Natividad Yee. Dubbed as one of North America's fastest growing tech conference, 2019 Collision takes over Toronto. Riza Mangilit with the details.
Today, here in Toronto, Canada, at the Anacare Center is the 2019 Collision, one of North America's fastest growing tech conferences where industry professionals, global leaders, and groundbreaking company startups from around the world showcase their most innovative goals in the future of technology. This month of May marks the first of one of the largest tech conferences taking place in Toronto. Alongside emerging tech companies are CEOs, founders, investors, and various organizations gathering in 17 track conferences to discuss the latest trends of technology.
When we started, we saw that storytelling was moving to video, and we wanted to produce a video on every topic. So 2006, around the same time YouTube launched, we felt that most of the content that was being consumed was in article format, and most of the good video programming was still on television. It wasn't like that, you couldn't really find that online. So we wanted to have a video on every topic, whether it was the history of Apple or things to do in Beijing. We just wanted to have a video on every topic, and slowly and surely we delivered on that vision.
Comprising of multiple stages, booths, workshops, and exhibitions, the Collision brings the community together while exposing the Canadian tech culture.
The event is great because it brings together a lot of people that are from the different industries in Canada, and it's not just small businesses but also medium and large businesses. We focus a lot on the larger business because we want a big volume, so big banks, insurance companies, and we're finding a great traffic here with all of those people and titles that are coming to our booth. So we're having a good show, I think.
Any other industries have we connected to?
Yes, we have. So we've had people sort of in the data scientists interested in how could we use some of this information. We've also had sort of musicians as well saying, hey, I want to try that out and feel sound. And then Collision's just such a great place to network. So we've just met people from all sorts of industries.
And I'd say AR, VR too, yeah. So we've had a lot of people from AR, VR, since there's a lot of really great companies here, yeah. And the idea with kind of how we could work together for that is haptic suits are starting to become something that a lot of gamers really want to be able to incorporate into their gaming experience.
I'm very happy to say, and Sunil could introduce you directly to some of the Iranian startups that are here today, some of whom are going to make Canada their permanent and Toronto their permanent home. And I think in a world where certain countries are beginning to kind of close themselves down and take a different view on the world, Canada and Toronto in particular represent something very, very different. And it's something we're very comfortable with, and delighted to be able to find a city and a country so close to the United States that is remaining very much open to the rest of the world. And hopefully in time the United States will revert to a model that has stood well over many, many decades. Silicon Valley was like Toronto. I think much of the engine for ingenuity and creativity was driven by talent, great ideas and great people moving from around the world to Silicon Valley.
Varying from content media, business intelligence, and technology, there's a lot to learn and explore from every corporation from the world's most influential leaders. Collision 2019 is the window opportunity of building connections, exhibiting ideas, and discovering the state and what's to come in the global tech industry. For Eagle News, reporting from Toronto, Canada, this is Riza Mangilit, 1 with 25.
Thank you, Riza. That is this week's Eagle News from Canada. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph and on Facebook at facebook.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I'm Archie Rose at TV Dad Yi. I'm 1 with 25.